Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. I know, board exams are just around the corner, and the tension is building. But don't you worry. Today, we're going to put our textbooks aside for a bit and become detectives. Our case? Oh, it's a big one. We're going to solve one of the greatest political mysteries ever. How did one of the world's biggest superpowers just vanish?
So picture this. Our story starts on a cold night in Berlin. The date is November 9th, 1989. The Berlin Wall, this huge, ugly concrete wall that had divided a city, a country, and basically the whole world for decades, it was finally coming down. Ordinary people were tearing it down with their bare hands. It was a moment of pure joy. But what no one realized was that this was just the first domino in a much, much bigger chain reaction. You see, this big celebration led to an even bigger question. Just 2 years after the wall fell, the Soviet Union, the second most powerful country in the world, America's biggest rival, it just, poof, disappeared from the map. Now, how does that happen? How does a giant like that just fall? That is the mystery we're going to crack today. Okay, first things first, my little detectives. Before we figure out why it collapsed, we need to understand what it was in the first place. So, let's investigate the scene. What exactly was the Soviet Union?
So, the USSR, which was created after the Russian Revolution in 1917, was basically the complete opposite of the USA. America was all about capitalism, right? People owning their own property, running their own businesses. Well, the Soviet Union was all about socialism. The government, or the state, owned and controlled everything, not private people.
Now, on paper, this system had some good things going for it. The government promised that everyone would have a basic standard of living. Your health, your education, childcare for your kids, all of it was super cheap, subsidized. And guess what? There was no unemployment. Just imagine if the government was one single giant company that made everything for everybody, from a tiny pin to a huge car. That was the big idea. But, and this is a huge, huge but, there was a pretty dark side to all this. The system was very strict, very controlling. Freedom of speech? Forget about it. There was only one political party, the Communist Party, and they ran everything and answered to nobody. Plus, the quality of things they made was, well, pretty bad. Since people couldn't protest openly, you know what they did? They told jokes and drew cartoons to show they weren't happy.
Okay, ready for a quick exam pop quiz. This is a classic one, so pay attention. Which of these was not a feature of the Soviet economy? Is it A, B, C, or D? Think for a second. Got it? If you chose C, you are absolutely right. People did not enjoy economic freedom. Socialism was the idea, the state owned everything, and the economy was planned, which means the people had no economic freedom at all. Great job.
All right, detectives, we've looked at the scene. Now, for the real investigation, why did it all come crashing down? And this is where the main character of our story enters, a man named Mikhail Gorbachev. He became the leader in 1985, and he just knew that the whole system was about to break. So, he came up with two big new ideas. The first one was Glasnost. Now, that's a Russian word, but an easy way to remember it is openness. It was like he was opening the windows of a stuffy room that had been closed for 70 years. For the first time, people could actually speak their minds and criticize the government. His second big plan was called Perestroika. This one means restructuring. This was his plan to try and fix the totally broken economy and the political system. So you have Glasnost for opening things up and Perestroika for trying to rebuild them. Simple, right? And here's the biggest twist in our mystery. The very reforms that were designed to save the Soviet Union actually ended up destroying it. For your exams, just remember these 4 main clues. 1. The economy was a total mess. 2. The government didn't care about the people. 3. Gorbachev's reforms made nobody happy. Some thought they were too fast, others thought they were too slow. And 4. The final blow. The rise of nationalism. And once things started to go bad, they weren't bad fast. I mean, really fast. In '85, Gorbachev starts his changes. 4 years later, the Berlin Wall comes down. The very next year, countries start declaring they're leaving. And by December of 1991, it's game over. The Soviet Union officially just stopped existing. And what happened then? Well, from the ashes of this one giant superpower, 15 new independent countries popped up. Countries like Russia, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan. The world map was literally redrawn forever.
So, what came next? This change from communism to capitalism, it wasn't a smooth ride at all. It was a very painful process called shock therapy. And trust me, for most people, it was all shock and zero therapy. In fact, people called this transition the largest garage sale in history. And why? Because all these huge, valuable government-owned industries were sold off to private companies for dirt cheap prices. Get this number in your head. 90%. That's right, 90% of all the industries were sold off. Just imagine massive steel plants and factories, all sold for less than you'd pay for a secondhand car. It was a complete economic catastrophe. And the result for ordinary people was just devastating. The value of their currency, the ruble, just crashed. People's entire life savings were wiped out overnight. The old government safety net was gone. A powerful mafia grew out of the chaos, and suddenly you had a few unbelievably rich people and millions of desperately poor people. Take a look at this building. This was Bank, one of Russia's biggest banks. When it went bankrupt in 1998, thousands of families lost every single ruble they had saved their entire lives. It was an absolutely heartbreaking time for the whole country. Now, this collapse didn't just affect the people inside the Soviet Union. It had a huge effect on its friends all around the world. And that brings us to a topic that's very important for us and for your exams: India's special relationship with the USSR. It's a story of a long-lasting friendship, our Dosti. During the whole Cold War period, the USSR was one of India's best friends. They helped us build massive steel plants like Pillai and Bokaro. They supported India on the Kashmir issue at the UN. They were our main supplier for military weapons. And, of course, there was the amazing cultural connection. And this cultural bond was huge. You might not believe how popular our Indian film stars were over there. I'm talking about absolute legends, Beta, from the great showman Raj Kapoor all the way to the one and only Amitabh Bachchan. Yep, because Bollywood was a super-duper hit in the Soviet Union. You could literally hear Hindi film songs playing on the streets of Moscow. Our movies and our music became a big part of their lives. It created this special warmth, this connection that still exists between India and Russia today. Okay, my detectives, our investigation is almost complete. We've followed all the clues, seen the aftermath, and even talked about our India connection. So, what's the solution to our big mystery? What is the one key takeaway you need for your exam? Here it is. This is the golden answer. The Soviet Union didn't collapse because of one single thing. It was a perfect storm, a mix of long-term problems that were already there, combined with Gorbachev's reforms. He tried to fix things, but instead he accidentally let loose forces that nobody, not even him, could control. That's your key takeaway, okay? So study smart, don't take too much stress, and I'll see you for our next investigation. All the best!